Well, hello folks. I know got here before the audience. It's only 5:30, and I know my show is not supposed to start until 7, but it will still be here. You can watch it at 7 and watch it again at 7:30 and 8 and on like that all you want to. Or you can even restart it right in the middle. If I do something really great, you want to watch it again. Bob's out of town, and I'm going to do a 30-minute show. I'm going to try anyway. I hope I can find something to do for 30 minutes. I'll have fun trying anyway. Same sponsors, good people. First off, I want to mention that one of our longtime sponsors, we lost a member of the family recently, Mr. Jim Pierce at Rainbow Restaurant, only 59 years old. He passed away. He's at Cross Funeral Home, I've been told, so you might want to check online for arrangements. I'm afraid I'll misquote it, and I forgot to write it down. But we wish his family well, and we will miss him. We're sorry that this has come up, but he's been a neighbor here and an advertiser. From the very beginning, he'd been advertising. Recently, they took a little hiatus. I think business got so good they needed to back off a little, but that's beside the point. He's been a good neighbor, and a good cook, and a good friend, and we miss him. I may do a complete obituary tomorrow night on the other show. We'll be on Channel 12 and back here also simultaneously on UGG TV and the lower panel on the green screen panel. But on the present things, Dixie Concrete is a sponsor. We want to highly recommend them. I know you're getting busy, you're working now, you're getting things fixed up, and you're going to need concrete, one reason or another, for your driveway, or maybe you need something to make a pad to build your grill on. You're going to do some outside grilling, or maybe you need one of those big concrete anchors for your boat, your dock. Remember, Dixie Concrete, they've got complete septic systems too. You just have to provide the contents. Hang around here, there'll be some of that available anyway. Don't have anything especially picked out to talk about, but I would like to say that I read all these, a lot of commentaries, both left and right. I am not exactly Republican, and I'm not Democrat. I consider myself liberal in the traditional sense, which means that I'll leave you alone if you leave me alone. And I'm not too enthused with the mainstream parties of either persuasion. If the Republicans did what they say, I would be wholeheartedly behind them, but they don't. And if the Democrats accomplished what they try, we couldn't any live here, so I'm glad that neither one of them keeps their promises. I noticed that a piece here, I'll get into it in a minute, that some of the left-leaning side have changed some of their opinions on Obama lately. He's not, actually he's not liberal enough for him. I noticed that Mr. Noam Chomsky, I don't know how that guy ever got to be anything, but I mean, I think he propelled himself to the front with some sort of a psychological analysis or something, and doesn't seem too brilliant to me. Ain't this wonderful? Hello? Ask me what I'm doing. Recording a show. You're on live UGG TV. What do you need? Well, what are you doing to it? I'm fixing lawnmowers, folks. What did you do to it? Well, no, but how much did you pump? No, don't pump it 3 times. Pump it hard 3 or 4 times. You're not going to overdo it. Well, it did before. Pump it hard. You know, it doesn't do anything till it gets near the end, and then it does a little bit of its squishy thing. You just pump the hound out of it. Forget that 3 times stuff. Call me back. See? This is UGG television and lawnmower repair, folks. Anyway, I see that some of the left are turning on Obama, and that's all right because he turned on the rest of us a long time ago. What I was going to say is I'm thoroughly disgusted with the way things are going, because all I can hear from one side is you need to compromise, and all I can hear from the other side is okay. And I'm compromised out, folks. We've quit standing on principle in every aspect of our government. We no longer insist on people who represent, and I don't mean represent the people. That's not necessarily what we elect our people to do. Not to represent the people, but to represent the form of government we've chosen. In other words, we have a certain set of rules that we agreed on when this country was founded. It's like you can't play football if you change the rules in the middle of a play. You can't play ping pong even if you start changing the way you score in the middle of a game. You can't do that. But that's what so many people are insisting we do. Now, there's a process for changing the Constitution, just like there's a process for changing rules in sports. But that process is not easy. It's complicated. It's hard to ratify an amendment to the Constitution, but that was done on purpose. We need people who will do as they swear to do. They swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Meaning that if you don't agree with it, you don't just pick and choose what you agree with and will support. If you don't agree with parts of it, you still are sworn to support that part until you can change it. And you can put forth all the effort you want to through legal matters to change it. But my point is, we have redefined everything. We've redefined property rights, we've redefined voting rights, we've redefined citizenship. We have redefined everything from the beginning to now, and we keep evolving our definitions to the point where we have no rules anymore. If you really think you have property ownership, skip paying your taxes sometime. If you think that you know the rules of the game, do something. I guarantee you that you violate the law every day in some manner or another, because the rules are constantly changing. And the solution has always been, if you have a problem, you don't fix the problem by enforcing the rules, the laws. You pass more laws on top of the old ones, and then you don't enforce those either. There are laws against murder, so we have laws against gun ownership. And then we have more laws against it, and more laws, but we're not enforcing the first law. I know you can't just pass a law and there won't ever be murder again, but you can't pass a law against bad guys owning guns if you can't figure out some way to define who gets them. So, and that was one of the fundamental reasons of the Second Amendment. It was a last line of defense for the people against their government, because all governments tend to grant themselves more and more authority, more and more power, to the point where we are servants rather than superintendents. The government is supposed to work for us, not be our master. But that's the way we do things. I want to look at something here. I'm sorry to be doing homework here at the same time. Here is something that Mr. Noam Chomsky, as I said, he's a socialist, possibly even Marxist, who has He gets paid big money for speeches. But in an interview, Chomsky told the liberal blog Alternate, "I personally never expected anything of Obama and wrote about it before the 2008 primaries. I thought it was smoke and mirrors. The one thing that did surprise me is his attack on civil liberties. They go well beyond anything I would have anticipated, and they don't seem easy to explain. In many ways, the worst is what you mentioned, Holder versus Humanitarian Law Project. That's an Obama initiative that is a very serious attack on civil liberties. He doesn't gain anything from it. He doesn't get any political mileage out of it. In fact, most people don't even know about it. But that is what what it does is extend the concept of material assistance to terror to speech." So here he's turning on the guy because he didn't expect says he didn't expect much, but I didn't hear him out there campaigning against him. But he says he didn't expect much, and he's even disappointed in that. But what else can you expect from somebody who had been so unvetted before the first presidential election? He'd only been in politics 2 or 3 years, and he got in that kind of underhandedly. He outlawed his opponent, disputed some qualifications and whatnot, and then dug out an old divorce proceedings against his opponent. And it was okay then to dig out dirt on somebody and present it in the last few weeks of the campaign in such a way that it's hard for a guy to, I mean, do you still beat your mother? How do you defend that question? But some people elected a man who we knew very little about, and a man who I think has very little understanding of what this country was founded on. Now, if you have different political ideas, that's okay, but you change the rules. You change the rules through the legal process. You don't redefine the rules. This may be getting a little bit too far out. I don't want to get into that too much, but I am, the more I read, the more disgusted I become, because the fact is you can change your whole country in 2 generations. Any changes you make now, if you can get them implemented, will be possibly hard for the people living now that were involved in the change, that didn't support the change. It'll be hard for them to accept, but they have no choice. The next generation will have some memory of that, and they will still be a little reluctant, but by the 3rd generation, my grandchildren don't remember it any other way. They don't remember what we would call freedom, so they don't know that they've lost anything, because it's always been that way. You just don't expect any more. And that's the process we've been going through over 200 years now, as we lose more and more of what the patriots fought for and delivered to us. I'm not one of these people to argue that there's no change. I heard the argument that freedom of the press, of course, didn't anticipate television and radio and all that. You expect to have freedom of those outlets too, and as the press dies off, you've even got more reason to expect a free exchange, a free press. Okay, so that definition has evolved. I've got no problem with that. But that does not make the Constitution a living document that can be changed at the whim of anybody who wants to redefine something. Just because we no longer use muskets does not mean that muskets are the only thing that were intended in the Second Amendment. And I don't mean to hound anybody on the Second Amendment. There's a lot of other things that have far fewer defenders than the Second Amendment, and we're losing ground on those much faster. For instance, property rights. the Kelo decision of the takings clause in the Fifth Amendment, where a majority, 5 members of the Supreme Court, said it was all right for New London, Connecticut, I believe that's right, to take this lady's, to take a whole neighborhood, but this one woman, this Miss Kelo, was fighting it. She had a nice home in a little settled community, had lived there all her life. As far as I know, it was one of those time passed it up little communities within a town, within a city. But they had the ruling fathers, the power elite, had the idea to turn this neighborhood into some sort of a tourist development, and had some promise of some commercial backing and whatnot. So they decided to evict these people from that community, take their property under the rules of the Fifth Amendment, which allows taking property for the community good. And most reasonable people, I think, would say that that was intended for roads, schools that couldn't be built anywhere else, stuff that was actually to serve the community, and that could not be. I mean, one guy's got a piece of property and you've got a road that's going 1,000 miles in each direction, and you can't buy his property. Well, that's a little ridiculous. That's why the takings clause is put in there. But you're still supposed to pay the man a reasonable fee. But their reason for taking this land was that they would get more taxes from it if it were developed in a different way. And that was for the community good, for common good, so they were going to take her property, and they did. The Supreme Court went along with it. They took her property. The same way with the Tellico Dam project over here. By the time they got everything settled, nobody wanted to develop it, and now, to my understanding, that it's just a field with weeds, and somebody, the city or somebody, mows it occasionally. They have less taxes than they did before. Knoxville got into that same thing with the Whittle property. This sort of thing really started under the urban renewal scheme under LBJ, Lady Bird Johnson's Beautify America thing. This urban renewal was where, sounds good. I mean, and the people they were picking on couldn't fight back. They'd go take property from somebody and kick them out and clean up the slum and the blighted area, and turn it into something, maybe a walking trail or something. But that was easy, because the people they were picking on them were mostly poor black families. And sure, they might have improved the looks of the property, may have raised the value of the property, but I don't believe that all of those people wanted to live somewhere else. A lot of them went into federal housing projects. Most of those people were just as proud of their shacks as they could be, and nobody stood up for them, because nobody stands up for those people, or they did back then. They wouldn't now unless they were privileged race, but okay, that was racist. I don't think so, it's the truth. But nobody would stand up for them, and that went through okay, and now we have them taking, well, like in downtown Knoxville, they took the Gateway bookstore property because it didn't pay enough taxes, and ended up stuck with it and getting no taxes out of it. It happens a lot of times. I hope you remember that Vital Care, our local independently owned record service, is not supported by your tax dollars, but is supported by your goodwill and your patronage, which they acquire because they give good service and they are appreciative of their customers. 562-9370, Vital Care of Campbell County, 562-9370 if you need some sort of medical transport. And they have those, what do you call them, those breathing machines. They got an ambulance with that in it, so they, unless something has been purchased lately, they're only ambulance service here. County cannot do it, that can take you from one place to another and have you on this life support system during that time. They are constantly improving and evolving, and They are they're there to serve you, and they appreciate your business. So hope you don't need a ride, but if you do, call them 562-9370. And while I'm doing commercials, I'll tell you about Digger. It may be summertime, almost, but you notice we keep having some cool spells. Wouldn't hurt to have a little backup, Mr. Heater. But just because you're not using as much heating fluid now does not mean that you won't need a grill, a camping setup where you can run one master valve to turn your lights, your refrigerator, and your grill all on and off with one valve. Easy to refill, keep up to date. That would be what Digger can do for you. 562-5444, 562-5444, right in the middle of the road in Sawmill, right in the middle of the road in Sawmill Holler. And he can fix you up with all that. He can fix you up a setup so you can run all your things off of one tank. And that way, you don't have to buy those little twisty bottles that you always cross-thread and mess up your stove and your lantern and stuff. Time to start fishing. In my case, I fish. I don't catch fish, I just fish. But I've quit. I quit a long time ago when I keep getting tempted back into it. But I don't recommend it for amateurs. I'm definitely not skilled as a fisherman. 562-5444. And I'll go ahead and do the other one since I've only got 9 minutes left. We got Napa Auto Parts. Across my IGA. They've got a vast network of stores. The National Auto Parts Association keeps everything networked together so you can get a part for about anything. If it ain't in stock, I can usually have it tomorrow morning, maybe even this afternoon. But Napa Auto Parts, 562-9406. Call Randy or whoever happens to answer the phone. Tell them what you want. They can help you figure out what you need sometimes better than you know yourself. Right across my IGA, or we used to say Old Woodson's. Huh. Well, Noam Chomsky's getting a lot of comment on this here come out against Obama. I don't know why anybody cares what he thinks. I know I don't. Anybody with a name like that, though, you can't forget him. Looks like it's getting to be about time for folks to start going to the lake again. I didn't really discover the lake till I was an old man. I just lived out there all my life beside the water, but I never did have time to play and have the toys to play with. And I still don't have a lot of money invested, but I've got some old junk that floats and I have fun. But I would like to say to you, remember that it's a place to play, it's not a place to get drunk and drown. If you see somebody out there in a little John boat, just because you've got a cabin cruiser don't mean you need to irritate them. If you see somebody fishing, don't just run right over them. Give them a little room and cut down on your waves a little bit. You drove most of the fishermen to fishing of a night now, which is nothing wrong with that either, but there's room for everybody. And remember that the whole point in having a day on the lake is to go home sometime. If you get out there and drown or kill somebody, run over them, I mean, how much fun is that going to be, huh? Dead people, whether they have any fun or not. Bob should be back tomorrow night. I hope so, because it's hard to talk for an hour by yourself when you have no more to say than I do. I don't even have an audience right now because I'm not supposed to be on, but I trust that they'll tune in later like they usually do and pick it up. My apologies for my abbreviated show, but when you've got the best of the two, it's okay, I suppose. I'm about out of anything to say, folks. I guess I'll just close her down. Tune in again tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, UG TV, or at udtv.tv, or you can go to Channel 12 locally. Thanks, everybody.